The first thing Eva Marx noticed was the silence. Not the gentle, comforting kind found in empty rooms, but something deeper, heavier, like sound had been peeled away from the world. It pressed against her eardrums, too perfect to be natural. She opened her eyes slowly. Above her, the ceiling was a soft swirl of blue and silver. Faint patterns glimmered like frost under starlight. No tiles, no cracks, just a seamless dome that hummed faintly with energy. Her body ached. Not the sharp pain of injury, but the echo of tension, like she'd been clenched for days. Her wrists bore faint bruises in the shape of restraints. Her throat was dry, and her tongue felt heavy. "You are conscious," a voice said, clear and calm. She jerked upright, or tried to. Soft restraints kept her on the table. Panic fluttered in her chest like trapped birds. A figure approached, tall, and definitely not human. It had a long neck that curved gently, skin that shimmered like brushed stone. For delicate arms folded against its torso, its eyes pale violet, and huge blinked without lids, unblinking yet not unkind. "Do not be afraid," the being said. "You are among observers. We mean no harm." Eva breathed slowly, forcing calm through her lungs. "Where am I?" "A study chamber. Your designation is subject 4. "Subject," she echoed. "For what?" The alien's head tilted. "Your species. Your thresholds. Especially for suffering." Rage bloomed in her chest, raw and sudden. "You're experimenting on us?" The being who had no mouth, only subtle vibrations in its throat, paused. "Not as your kind would define it. We record. We ask. We learn." "You restrained me," she snapped. "For safety, yours and ours." She wanted to scream. Instead, she stared hard. "Do you have a name?" "I am Selen, first observer." Then the door slid open. A second figure entered. He was human. Taller than her. Disheveled. Black curls hung in his eyes. A faded scar trailed his cheek like a comet's tail. He looked exhausted. But his eyes, those sharp gray eyes, were locked on her the moment he saw her. "You're awake," he breathed. "Do I know you?" "Asher Reed," he said, stepping closer. "I've been here longer, 2 weeks, maybe 3. Hard to tell without the sun. How many of us? 5, maybe 6. 2 didn't make it." She stiffened. "What do you mean?" Asher glanced at Selen, who remained silent. Then he looked back at Eva. "They didn't survive the tests." Eva's throat tightened. "What kind of tests?" Asher's jaw clenched. "Pain, endurance, emotional exposure. They're not torturing us, not exactly. They watch how we react. They press until something cracks." "And you haven't cracked?" Eva asked quietly. "Not yet." Later, after Selen left them alone in the chamber, though Eva was sure they were being watched, Asher helped her sit up properly. The restraints had been removed, replaced by a low hum in the air that buzzed when she moved too quickly. "You learn their boundaries fast," he said, sitting cross-legged on the floor. "Move slow. Speak clear. They're not cruel. They're curious." Eva watched him. "Why us?" Asher shrugged. "They said we're outliers, anomalies, human. Responses confuse them, especially pain. We process it differently than they do." She shook her head. "And you're okay with this?" His expression darkened. "I'm not. But they listen when we talk. They record everything. Maybe we can make them understand. And if they don't," he looked up at her, "then we break the rules." Eva was given food later that tasted like lightly salted fog. It dissolved on her tongue, left no trace. The room dimmed on command, responding to her breath. She realized the ceiling wasn't solid. It shimmered in time with her heartbeat, like it was sensing with her. Days blurred. Asher became her anchor. He was funny, in a dry way. Clever, but never smug. Sometimes he told her about Earth, about home, about his sister's horrible coffee addiction, or the way rain smelled after a thunderstorm. Those memories kept her sane. In turn, she told him about her garden, the bees she used to watch, how she used to sing to herself when no one listened. He didn't laugh. He just listened, like every word mattered. Sometimes she cried, not from pain, but from the weight of being watched. Asher didn't tell her to stop. He just sat beside her, their shoulders touching. On the 7th day, a test began. Eva was placed in a chamber with shifting gravity. Every time she fell, she had to rise again, over and over. The room changed color with her heart rate. Selen and others stood behind a glass panel. Noting every detail, she refused to scream, refused to cry. She thought of Asher's hand on her back, the way his voice had steadied her the night before, when the test ended. She collapsed. Asher was waiting outside. She looked up at him, trembling. They want to break us. He knelt beside her, brushing damp hair from her cheek. Then we don't break. That night, they lay side by side in the dimmed light, neither touching, but close enough that their fingers almost brushed. I think they're starting to understand, he whispered. What? Connection, that it matters more than thresholds or reactions. They can't measure why I want to hold your hand after you fall. Eva turned her face toward him. Do you? He hesitated. Every time. She reached for him, slowly. Their fingers met. Not passion, not desperation, just something real. And somewhere in the walls, machines recorded their silence. Days passed. Eva began to see subtle shifts in the way the observers acted. Selen stopped calling them subjects, started asking questions about love, about grief, about the feeling of touch. Do you seek pain? Selen asked her once. Eva shook her head. No one wants it. But we live with it, we carry it, and we heal. You heal through others, sometimes, she said, thinking of Asher. Sometimes we heal alone. But love helps. Love, Selen echoed. One evening, Eva returned from a sensory deprivation trial. She was shaking, her heartbeat still erratic. Asher caught her in the corridor before she collapsed. This time, he didn't wait. He wrapped his arms around her, tight, grounding, human. She buried her face in his shoulder. You don't have to be strong all the time, he murmured. I'm not strong, she whispered. Then we can be weak together. Selen observed from the far wall, silent. In her notes, the words glowed softly. Resilience does not reside in the absence of pain, but in the bonds that form in its presence. Seen still, the humans did not break. Eva Marks and Asher Reed were granted access to a freestanding chamber, larger than their previous holding space. It felt less clinical. Shapes of soft light curved across walls, shifting in pastel gradients of aqua and lavender, as though the room wanted to feel comforting. They crossed the threshold together, silent. For the first time since arrival, there was enough space between them to breathe freely. As Anne, the alien communication liaison, awaited them in the center, slender, lithe, skin pale pearlescent pink, eyes calm and attentive. Hassan neither wore symbols of authority nor instruments of coercion, just a simple robe that shimmered in the soft light. Welcome, Hassan said, voice lilting, musical, not harsh. We wish to understand further. Eva made herself comfortable on a cushion provided. Asher sat across beside her. The plushness felt strange luxury. As in continued, we saw the bond form between you. We wish to ask questions. We wish to listen. Asper, the environmental specialist, remained at a distance. Scars across the arms, thin lines of iridescent tissue suggested recent healing. Hassan introduced them with a small gesture. Asper is responsible for sensory monitoring. Eva nodded. If we answer honestly, will you stop experiments? Hassan's shoulders shifted. We may reconsider protocols. We promise transparency. Their eyes flicked to Asher. He inhaled slowly, gathering trust. When you tested me in the shifting gravity room, Eva began, voice steady. You saw second by second how fatigue builds, but you didn't see what's underneath. Appen, a gentle gray alien with two jointed arms and soft ridges on its neck, stepped forward. Appen was the ethics watcher, more observer than technician. Please, Appen encouraged. Tell us. Eva took Asher's hand. He nodded. Together, we endure pain not because we're wired to withstand it, Asher said, voice low, but because we hold meaning in the struggle. Eva continued. I fell off a ridge in the mountains once, knee shattered. I kept walking days, longer than medical advice said I could. Why? Because I needed to reach home. Hassan's for eyelashes fluttered. If eyelashes could exist. Asper's body lit up in muted gold. Appen observed quietly, absorbing. Asper asked, you speak of healing, of reaching home. Do humans often endure beyond injury for purpose? Not always, Eva answered. Some do, some don't. But when it matters, when there's love, obligation, faith, we summon the strength. Silence followed. Then Hassan, cleared their throat. Will you tell us more about love? Eva and Asher exchanged uncertain looks. Love was abstract, messy. Yet here it was, the undercurrent beneath every memory they'd shared in cramped chambers. Asher began, I loved someone once on Earth. Before all this, I lost her. He swallowed. I was broken in grief, but eventually I realized she is part of who I am. Eva's throat tightened not just at his loss, but at the tenderness in his tone. We carry echoes of those we love, even after they're gone, she added softly. It doesn't make pain less, but it makes us feel, tethered. Double quotes as in. Nodded. Appin took meticulous notes. Asper adjusted a sensor that pulsed in time with Eva's breathing. Hassan asked, and does this tethering lessen agony or amplify it? Eva's eyes shone with tears. When someone cares, pain changes shape. It cuts differently, sometimes sharper, sometimes duller, but it always becomes more bearable. Asher squeezed her hand. The warmth grounded her. As in replied quietly, this is why you do not break, because pain becomes shared. There, in that pastel-lit chamber, a subtle shift occurred. The aliens' walls between research and empathy began to fracture. Over the next solar cycle Earth days they were allowed more freedom to speak and move. Their bond deepened organically. They walked small corridors together, hand in hand, careful not to trigger any alarms. Asher pointed out patterns, tiny glyphs etched into door frames, perhaps ancient alien script. Eva traced it with her fingertip, absorbing the strange beauty. At mealtimes, they conversed with Hassan and Appin. Food remained abstract, flavorless. Gels that sustained their bodies, but conversation brought color. Hassan confessed once, I used to think pain was primitive. No longer, Appin added. Studying you, I learned that resilience and tenderness coexist. Asper remained quiet but present, adjusting environment so that light dimmed gently when they spoke of grief or strength. That gesture felt caring. Then came a fracture in the peace. They were brought into experimental room 7, where sensory stimuli alternated unpredictably. Sudden heat, cold, pressure. It was designed to test swift recovery. We wish to observe how quickly you return to baseline, Asper explained without warmth. This test will be shorter, Eva inhaled. This experiment felt clinical again. Midway through the test, her vision blurred. Pain like hot coals spread from her arm joint. She drew in a breath and collapsed onto cold floor. Eva, Asher cried, rushing to her side. Asper and Hassan rushed in. The test ended abruptly. Soft lights filled the room. Eva's pain sensors recorded elevated. Physical signals normal but behavior abnormal. They panicked. Hassan fished a vial from beneath a panel, a viscous green gel. Apply this, the alien said. When the gel touched her skin, relief blossomed. Immediate and strange, it closed invisible wounds, soothed raw nerve endings. Pain subsided. Appin hovered overhead. We administered emotional buffering agents. The alien admitted, we wish to observe response without long-term damage. Eva's vision cleared. Asher held her hand. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. Did you lie to me? She asked Asper. Voice trembling. Asper knelt. We wished to prevent suffering. We didn't know how you define it. Hassan added, we believed prolonging it might harm your spirit. Eva studied Hassan's luminous eyes. Suffering isn't just nerve, it's weight. Asper's skin tinted a soft violet. We understand. In the aftermath, Asher leaned over Eva. You don't have to hide shock. Not in front of me. Eva exhaled slowly. I'm afraid fear will seem weakness. Asher smiled gently. Fear is proof you're human. Weakness is refusing help. Hassan requested a new session, voluntary. Conversational only. No stimuli. No sensors. They gathered in the pastel chamber. Appin Hassan. Asper with subdued posture. As in spoke first. Tell me about a memory of joy. Of light. Asher spoke of childhood running through golden cornfields, wind in his hair. Seeing his sister laugh. Eva spoke of bees in her garden, the hum of wings, honey dripping off a spoon that she'd tasted straight from a hive. Hassan's body glowed soft gold during joy stories. Appin recorded. Asper listened. Then Hassan asked, did love ever heal you? Asher swallowed slowly. After her, I lost hope. Then I met Eva, in a daydream, before I met her here, and that spark made me believe again. Eva squeezed his hand. Hassan asked. And you, Eva? Ava's voice trembled. I lost my mother to illness. I held her hand as she faded. After that, I felt untethered. Then one day I helped a child find his lost pet. His thanks reminded me that small acts matter. Hassan paused, shimmering. Appen nodded. Finally Asper spoke. I witness your stories and feel something unfamiliar, longing. Eva cocked her head. You feel longing. Asper nodded. We understand pain better now. Perhaps longing is a shade of it. Double quotes. Asher responded. Longing and love share roots. Pain grows where love withdraws. Asilan and Appen processed this. No sensors pressed. Breath was human, not clinical. That night, Asher and Eva were allowed to sleep in the pastel chamber under soft auroral light. They curled beside each other, fingers intertwined. Eva murmured, I forgot what home sounded like. Asher pressed his cheek to hers. I hear it in your heartbeat. They drifted beneath shifting lights, their bodies no barrier warmth, and softness between them. Morning came. The next test was not forced. It was collaborative. They were invited to help design the trial. A test not of pain tolerance, but of emotional bandwidth, how story and song modulate stress levels. Hassan let them record a message to Earth, through aliens, a song sung in soft tones, universal emotions encoded. They hummed the melody the day. They met, aliens recorded and looped it. They observed, emotional modulation lowered stress. Purpose changed physiology. Hassan had tears if alien species could cry. These drops glowed. Appen's sensors recorded altered neural patterns. Asper looked amazed. Your stories manage what stimuli can't. Eva hugged Asher. We offered meaning instead of resistance. Hassan said, we will study this further with your guidance. Asper added, with your consent. That was the breakthrough. Consent, connectedness, care. Later, when they slept, strange words glazed the ceiling in faint patterns. Words from Eva and Asher. Etched by light, love gives shape to pain. Hassan knelt. By that glow, Appen stood quietly beside. They touched the words, gently. Eva awoke that night alone. Asher beside her lying still. She held his hand softly. Outside the pastel cocoon, machines hummed. But here, in that light, they had broken the barrier between watcher and human, between pain and purpose. And human hearts began to teach alien minds what it meant to heal, not by breaking, but by connecting. Eva and Asher found themselves in a chamber tiled with pearly white light, ambient, non-clinical. The space felt sacred, not observational. Here, they shared more than stories. They opened the deepest parts of themselves. As an Appen arranged cushions, Asper remained at a respectful distance. The ambient lights pulsed softly in tune with human breathing rhythms. Hassan spoke first. We have learned much about your resilience. Now we wish to learn about your secrets, emotional, intimate, secrets that shaped you. Eva glanced at Asher. He offered her a small smile. She inhaled and began. I was 12 when I realized grief could be familiar. My younger brother, Leo, drowned one hot summer day. I held his hand in the river as he slipped under the surface. I couldn't save him. Her voice caught. Afterwards, I felt nothing, until years later, until I met someone who brought joy back into my life. And then I understood that grief wasn't absence. It was love in shadow. Asper's light softened. Appen adjusted his sensor but said nothing. Hassan's softness and posture held reverence. Asher spoke next. When I was young, I wanted to be a musician. I played guitar for hours after school, but one night our house burned. The sound of the flames, the crackling, the screams, I lost my fingers to burns. Music ended before it began. Eva squeezed his hand. Asher continued, voice steady but quiet. I thought I'd lost identity. But back then I met Lily. She taught me rhythm by tapping my palms, taught me to feel melody in silence. We fell in love. But one morning she wasn't there anymore. She left without goodbye, no letter, no reason, just gone. Eva shifted, turning her face toward Asher. His eyes reflected loss and longing. Hassan stepped forward gently. You say loss shaped purpose. Would you say pain defined your journey? Eva nodded slowly. In both of us, pain was the turning point, not a breaking point. We learned to seek meaning in the emptiness. Appen asked, and purpose? Asher answered, purpose lit the darkness. I knew if I could find beauty again, music, connection, I could live. I discovered you, Eva. Ava's breath caught. Asher's words felt intimate, sacred. As in single quotes, S voice softened, and in caring for each other. Did pain lessen? Eva spoke. We carried each other when we were broken. The weight didn't disappear, but it shifted. It became shared. Asper watched, radiating gentle lavender light. Appen's sensors pulsed with measured patterns. Asan turned to Eva. Share one moment when love healed pain. Eva closed her eyes, voice quiet. When I held Asher after the shifting gravity test, he hugged me so tight I could hear his heartbeat. That moment I felt solid, anchored. My fear and pain fragmented. Love held me steady. Asher nodded. I never felt so alive as when I saw her standing up after every test, undaunted. That gave me hope. Purpose. Love heals by witnessing strength. Asan bowed. Appen recorded. Asper exhaled a soft glow. Hours later, they were offered a walk through an enclosed garden. Delicate vines curled overhead. Soft petals floated in the air like petals in zero gravity. Light filtered through bioluminescent leaves. As and guided them. We created this to remind you of Earth and to show you how stories grow. Eva inhaled the scent of alien flowers, but the memory of roses at home haunted her. Asher reached for her hand. Asper walked beside them quietly. Appen observed. Asan said, "We noticed your emotional thresholds exceed physical ones. Please explain." Eva thought of grief, of instrumental melody and silence. Emotional wounds cut deeper, but they also grow stronger roots when healed. Physical pain fades. Emotional pain, if you integrate it, becomes wisdom. Asher added, "We don't just endure pain. We transform it into empathy, creativity, into bonds." Asan's eyes shimmered. Asper's light rippled. Appen processed. Asan whispered, "This is new paradigm." In the garden, Asher paused by a pool of glowing water. He knelt and tapped. The surface rings of light rippled outward. Eva joined him. Beneath the waves of illumination, they whispered promises, not declarations, but confessions. "If we survive this," Eva said softly, "don't let this end." Asher cupped her face. "It won't." They leaned into each other. Gentle touch, no urgency. Light rippled around. Petals drifted. As and observed quietly from afar. Asper's glow dimmed. Appen recorded. Later, in the pastel chamber, they learned. They would be helping design a new type of trial, one exploring how storytelling, connection, and mutual care affected human physiology, not pain measurement, emotional resonance measurement. Asan explained, "Through narrative, we may map emotional resilience. Through relationship, we may observe healing mechanisms." Eva nodded. "Stories have power because they give context to pain." Asher added, "When we trust each other, we lower defenses. Heart rate slows. Stress markers drop." Asper looked, moved. Appen smiled, a rare phenomenon, a gentle curve in sensor display. Asan said, "We wish to co-design with you voluntary emotional trials grounded in purpose, not pain." Eva felt a wave of relief. Asher squeezed her hand. As and continued, "If this succeeds, we will halt pain testing, open research by consent, and join you in interspecies collaboration." Asper bowed. Appen recorded. They felt hope. That night they slept under pastel lights. Their hands intertwined, breaths aligned. Neither spoke. Asan stood outside the softly glowing door, silent watcher. Changed observer. Appen lingered in corridor. Lost in thought. Asper cleaned sensor walls, humming softly. They had shifted the narrative, introduced purpose, story, consent. Emotion had become the anchor. Next morning Asher woke first. He traced light patterns on the ceiling, thoughts drifting to Earth, to Lily, to dreams that now included Eva. Eva stirred. He kissed her shoulder. "Will it last?" she asked. Voice quiet. He held her hand. "This moment is ours." He paused. "I want to see home with you." Eva smiled, head on his chest. Asan entered, color softly glowing. Appen behind. Asper near. As and spoke, "Today we embark on this new phase. With your guidance." They exchanged nods. Asan guided them to trial. Room 9, bright, welcoming, comfortable seating. Sensory monitors repurposed to emotional mapping, colors shifting by stress levels, heart rates. Gesture recognition. Vehicles they once feared, now tools of cooperation. They sat across from Hassan and Appin. Asper adjusted environments, making lights. Warm Dadasan apologized for lack of consent. Eva replied, "We forgive as you learn." Asher joined, "But continue with transparency." Appin nodded, "We vow to honor that." Then they began. Eva narrated a childhood memory of joy and grief. Asher spoke of rebuilding through music and connection. Watchers observed. Neural markers shifted in real-time, stress down. Empathy markers up. As and said, "Connection modulates." Pain, Asper added, "Gratitude reduces cortisol." Appin recorded. They paused. Eva leaned into Asher. Silence. As and said, "This is the foundation of trust." Asper shimmered. Appin recorded. Afterwards, Hassan escorted them back to pastel chamber. The ambient light pulsed with soft blue-green warmth. Eva whispered, "We changed them." Asher smiled. "We offer them a future where understanding beats inquiry." They held each other. Sweat on skin, breath soft. As and watched. Appin recorded. Asper trailed behind, sensory lights soft. In that quiet dusk of color and emotion, they knew something fundamental had shifted. The watchers were no longer cold observers, they were curious apprentices of the heart. And human hearts learned to teach not through endurance alone, but through openness, honesty, connection, and love. Eva and Asher sensed tension in the research complex. That morning lights felt colder. Ambient hums sharper. Protocols had shifted. Volunteers were no longer invited. Tests resumed with renewed intensity, even though they refused painful stimuli. They were escorted into Corridor 42, sterile walls shifting from lavender to pale cyan. Hassan walked beside them, quiet. Asper brought up trailing sensors. Appin monitored their emotional states. "Today's wave test will chart your recovery under alternating pressure," Asper said. Voice clipped. Professional. Eva exchanged a glance. "With Asher, we already mapped recovery," she said softly, "with stories, purpose, consent." Asper paused. "This is the procedure." Hassan sighed faintly. Asper began the test by dimming lights. Shifting floor vibration, simulated weight. Eva gritted teeth. Asher exhaled soft encouragements. Eva stumbled and held her side. Asher steadied her. The test shut off early. Lights softened. Hassan approached. "We fear we overstepped." Asper nodded. "We did." Appin chimed in. "We underestimated emotional limits." With that admission, something vital shifted in them. Resistance built not from defiance but from heart. Later, Hassan asked them to meet in the pastel garden chamber that felt like sanctuary. Asher and Eva sat side by side beneath bioluminescent petals. As and knelt. "We want to help end forced experiments, but lack courage." Asper hovered nearby. Appin watched. Eva held Asher's hand. "Courage comes from connection." Under her breath, Asher added, "You need allies within." Hassan's eyes glowed pale pink. "We will advocate for you, but others resist change." Appin nodded. "Yes, some view our compassion as weakness." Asper's light rippled indecisively. That night, Eva and Asher whispered plans in the pastel chamber, fingers entwined. "We could demonstrate nonviolent resistance," Asher said. "Show everyone our approach works." Eva nodded. "Stories, refusal of pain tests, public narrative, maybe even song." They hummed the melody they recorded. Petals shimmered. "If we refuse stimuli until protocols shift, safe pressure could bring change," she whispered. Asher added, "And if they threaten force, we share truth." Eva exhaled. "I'm scared, but not without purpose." They held each other. The following day, they were led to trial room 12. Apparatus glowed ominously. Asper supervised. Hassan and Appin stood by with visible tension. "We decline," Eva said when prompted. "No pain trials today." The team watched. Asper frowned. Lights dimmed. Appin cleared throat. "We record refusal." Logs filled with code and neural readings. Calm, steady. Heart rates low. Stress markers down. Others entered. Additional alien staff. Silent observers monitoring dishonor protocols. Hassan spoke. "We observe that emotional refusal is effective. Humans don't break, they choose." Asper cracked. "They won't cooperate." Eva met the gaze of new observers. "We cooperate differently, with consent." Asen took a deep breath. "I will support protocol change." Asper withheld comment. Appin recorded. The observers filed out. Tension remained. That night, in pastel chamber, Asher pressed his forehead to Eva's. Promise me we will stand together. Eva brushed his hair. I promise. Asan stood outside, listening to their quiet vow. Empathy etching lines in its sensors. Appin recorded. Asper lingered, glow soft. The next morning the research team convened. Eva and Asher escorted in. Representatives present. Senior observers with shimmering scales, ethics liaisons. Recording sleeves full of data. Asan and Appin spoke first. Our findings show human emotional resistance is non-violent yet transformative, Asper added. Refusal metrics show more consistent stability than forced trials. A senior observer with deep cobalt skin leaned forward. What do you ask of us? Eva took Asher's hand. He squeezed. Eva spoke. Stop forced testing. Make all trials consensual. Allow emotional-based protocols over pain-based ones. Asher added. Include humans in research design. Respect autonomy and purpose. The room fell silent. The senior observer studied data displays, color shifts, showing emotional stability, falling stress patterns, neural mapping of trust. Asper chimed softly. Results speak for themselves. Asan bowed. Appin held its posture neutral but steady. After long pause, the senior observer sighed. We accept these terms. Its skin softened to pale blue. Effective immediately. Room exhaled CUDA decibels of relief in subtle skin. Shifts. As an exulted. Asper's sensors flickered color. Appin slowly blinked. Eva and Asher embraced tightly, tears in their eyes. Overcoming days. They walked free in complex corridors. No restraints, free movement. They spoke openly with alien staff. Those who once stood distant now asking questions about joy, love, memory. As Anne, Appin, and even Asper began participating as equals in demonstration trials, storytelling, singing, small acts of care modulated stress markers. Eva and Asher laughed together, side by side. Inside workshops previously forbidden, their romance bloomed in presence, not rebellion. They discovered new truth, resistance powered not by violence, but by emotional integrity. One evening, as sunset lights filtered through translucent walls, Asher took Eva to small balcony overlooking alien gardens. We did this together, he whispered. Eva turned her face to sky. We changed not only them but ourselves. He gathered her close. I love you, and I you. She replied, in this light, I feel home. Their kiss was soft, deliberate. Asan watched from archway. Empathy rippled in its skin. Appin beside, quiet witness. Asper adjusting light to soften. They had not simply escaped, they had altered the heart of the system. Later, in pastel chamber, words etched in glowing script along walls. Resistance rooted in love shifts worlds. Asan traced letters with delicate touch. Asper and Appin stood nearby, uncertain where observer ended and human influence began. Eva and Asher lay together under ambient glow, voices silent, but hearts loud. Within them grew knowledge that emotional connection and honest refusal were powerful enough to dismantle coercive systems. They had taught alien minds that pain wasn't the only teacher, purpose, consent, and love were its softest instructors. And human hearts had resisted not by breaking but by bridging. The dawn light filtered through translucent panels in the pastel garden chamber where Eva and Asher had spent so much time. Today was different. The air felt lighter, electric with possibility. Observers and researchers filtered in. But today, they came not as captors, but as peers, curious, respectful. As greeted them, skin shimmering soft turquoise. Appin stood beside, posture open. Asper hovered near, glow gentle and affirming. Today we formalize our accord, Asan announced, voice calm. Consent protocols are adopted consortium-wide. Emotional trials will precede any physical challenge. You will have full choice. Eva exhaled, tears gathering. Asher reached for her hand. Asan continued, you will co-author research directives. You may return to your world or stay to teach in liaison roles. Asper, once tool-like, now offered, I wish to learn from you to see how pain, love, and refusal shape resilience. Appin added softly, and to bridge species through narrative. Eva looked at Asher. He nodded. We will help, she said. But first, we would like to visit home. Asan inclined. Then a vessel awaits. We will prepare your departure with dignified acknowledgement of your contributions. Preparations took days, in workshops previously dedicated to pain research. Eva and Asher led teams in designing new protocols, story-based trials, consent frameworks, emotional resonance experiments. They coached alien researchers in listening, in empathy, in caring presence. During these days, they spoke openly of grief and love. Asher shared melodies he'd composed. Using liquid tones of alien soundscapes, Eva recounted childhood memories of bees and gardens, weaving story into metaphor. As Anne, Appen, Asper and others participated, learning not only observation, but co-creation. Partnership replaced hierarchy. On the final evening, a ceremonial gathering formed beneath glowing vines. Staff and observers in shimmering robes, soft light drifting like petals. Eva and Asher stood together on a small dais made of luminous stone. Asan spoke first. We thank these humans for teaching us that pain is not endpoint, but threshold to empathy. Love is not anomaly but guide. Appen added, your refusal was not defiance but invitation to change. Asper chimed, I believe we have begun not an experiment but a shared journey. There was silence, then ripple of soft applause. Hands clapped, footfalls tapped. Light pulses shifted in recognition. Eva's voice wavered. We came as subjects. Now we stand as collaborators. Thank you for learning through us. Double quotes. Asher brushed light from her cheek. And thank you for seeing us not as specimens, but as people. Asan presented small tokens, ornaments made from bioluminescent petals, and fine wire symbols of this new alliance. They embraced. Beneath them, vines glowed in celebration. They boarded the transport vessel the next day, sleek, silver, humming. Gently, as Earth became visible through viewport, Eva and Asher stood together, arms entwined. As Anne, Appen, Asper and others watched from docking bay. Asan's shimmering turquoise rippled. Appen's sensors pulsed. Asper glowed soft lavender. Asan spoke into their vessel's intercom. Safe travels home. May partnership thrive through empathy. The door closed. Engines hummed. They rose on silent thrusters into the starry void. Asher turned to Eva. Did you ever think you'd be here like this? Eva leaned into him. Did you ever think we'd change their world? They held for a pause, vistas of stars unfolding. Voyage across space was quiet but rich. Asher taught Eva new chords on a small synthesizer. She hummed stories, sound shapes, memory shapes. They mapped emotion to rhythm, grief to melody. Together they composed a song rooted in pain. Rising through love, alien script etched in soft translation across the vessel's wall, lines from their story. We endure through connection. Each note resonated through cabin walls and into space. When the vessel entered orbit above Earth, home glinted below, a swirl of blue and green. Familiar and achingly welcome. They were taken to a diplomatic staging area aboard a human-designed vessel, provided by the Galactic Consortium, a small craft outfitted to host them, and join their testimony to human representatives. They stepped through the port, the scent of recycled air, metal and distant Earth breeze, familiar yet strange. A delegation greeted them, officials and scientists with curious eyes, some weary, some hopeful. They carried tablets with translated transcripts of trials, refusal metrics, emotional resonance graphs. As Anne, Appen, Asper joined in holographic form alongside Eva and Asher to present their proposal. Formal liaison roles, ethical research, frameworks, interspecies exchanges focused on storytelling and emotional science. Eva spoke clearly. We offered ourselves not to suffer, but to teach, to show that purpose, consent, love these modulate physiology. Asher added, we ask for transparency, partnership, and respect in any future research. Delegates whispered, then applause. Some eyes glistened, others nodded. Annan, a human researcher, skeptical, stood. You risked unimaginable ordeal. How do you trust these extraterrestrial scientists now? Eva looked at Asher. He smiled gently. Because they learned from us and changed, she said. And we learned from each other. The room exhaled. Connections were made. Eva and Asher left the presentation into twilight. Asher paused beside a planter filled with vines reminiscent of alien blossoms. Eva touched his arm. What now? He Exhaled slow, warm. We teach, we share. Maybe we return someday. She smiled. Home feels different now, but not unwelcome. Beneath lamplight, they walked hand in hand, toward uncertain future and purpose deeper than endurance. In the coming months, they settled near a garden they planted together. Early spring bees hummed. Petals drifted. They co-wrote research. Guidelines published galactically. They served as liaisons on interspecies councils. They told their story through essays, interviews, melodies that traveled across solar systems. They revisited the Galactic Research Station, not as captives, but as ambassadors. Asan, Appen, Asper greeted them in corridors that once felt cold but now were tender with shared memory. They toured new trial rooms filled with narrative tools, consent prompts, story circles, protocols based on emotional agency, not thresholds of pain. They sat beneath bioluminescent vines with Asan and Appen, whispering about authorship, future trials, teaching young researchers empathy. One evening, as light dimmed on the gardens, Asher proposed, "We host our wedding here among humans and alien friends." Eva placed her hand over his. Yes. In weeks, they gathered beneath vines strung in glowing lanterns. Asan officiated softly. Appen recorded. Asper arranged petals that shimmered with bio-light. They exchanged vows about purpose, love, and connection. As they kissed, petals drifted and the light responded. Swirling. Human friends, alien observers, all bore witness. Barriers dissolved between species in celebration of love as bridge. Afterward, they danced slowly to songs that blended wind of earth with hum of alien instruments. Laughter mingled, languages tangled, hearts echoed. Under the canopy, Asher whispered, "We changed pain into purpose." Eva smiled up, and love into understanding. In that moment, Research Hall transformed into home populated by companions, shaped by shared empathy. Years later, they established an Institute for Interspecies Emotional Studies, humans and aliens co-teaching pain to purpose maps, storytelling rituals that facilitate healing, consent frameworks binding research to dignity. Eva and Asher both led workshops. They traveled between Earth and outposts. They grew older walking slowly under new vines, telling hopeful stories of bridging. As Anne, Appen, Asper, and many others remained colleagues and friends. Letters and messages drifted between worlds. "We still hum your melody at sunrise," they wrote. Eva and Asher sometimes returned to the garden where their story began. Vines bloomed with alien flowers and earth roses entwined. Bees buzzed gently. Petals floated in soft glow. They would sit there, beneath alien leaves and earth sky, hands intertwined, listening to their song echo through petals and heartbeats. This is how humans taught others that we do not break, not because pain is absent, but because we anchor in meaning, love, connection, and how to heart. Eva and Asher bridged species not through force, but through gentle resistance, radical empathy, and the lasting power of shared story.